So, welcome once again to the UI UX design class. And from the previous video that I made, I showed you that we'll actually be moving to something that they call user research or user experience research. So, at the course of this class, we are going to see how you can actually work on user research. I'm going to see the types of user research, the um, how you can act the process of user research. So user research is just a part of the user experience. From the previous class, we learned about how user interface actually works with what you can see, the visual part of a website, a app, or any other product. So the user research, which is the part of the user experience, it focuses on understanding user behaviors, their needs and motivations through observation and feedback. So what does this place talks about? Once you've already known who your users are, you need to know their behaviors, their needs at towards your product or towards your product, of course. So you can actually do this by when you observe them or put something in the apps that will actually make them to bring a feedback to you. So we are going to discuss some of those things that you can actually use to know what your users or customers are feeling while using your particular product or the website or app. So we are going to look at the process in which you can make this happen. So we are going to talk about foundational research. That is one of the first process. So this foundational research, it comes at the beginning of a design process and of a user research. So before you can actually think of designing or doing anything, to avoid to avoid um, redesigning the website, the app, the product all over again, you have to go through this foundational research. And in which it talks about foundation is like well explained. It's more like the beginning of the product. So and then it's just like the beginning of the product in which we are going to conduct some researches, and then you need to answer these questions. What should we build? What are the user problems? How can we solve them? So all these questions, we are actually going to see how they can be answered by some things that we are going to talk about, but I don't want to spill the beans. So we are going to see it as we continue this class. So it talks about what should we build, what are the user problems, and how can we solve them. Your product is actually meant to satisfy the needs of your users or customers, so that they should not reduce, so that the amount of users that you're having before shouldn't be reducing. The goal of you having a product of a web or a website or a app is to increase the percentage of which users go in, not the percentage of which users log out of your product. So when you've analyzed the problems, you need to solve them. So the next process in which you can use to get to know more about your user in this user research is design research. Now, we've seen that you've actually talked about what should we build. Then, how should we build this product? So when you use it, that is when the wireframing and prototyping comes in. Then when you look at it, you've already sketched the skeleton, that is the wireframe. When you've already sketched it, you will know how you can build it. And then the post-launch research, it is after you've already done this. This can actually be this you can actually do this by conducting usability studies. You can do this by conducting usability studies, in which I'll still explain what that usability study means. So this post-launch research is after you've already launched the product. So just take note, whenever I'm mentioning product, I'm actually referring to a website or app. Although UI UX can also be into a like physical product, but I'm going to repeat this. We are basing on websites, apps, dashboards, and other digital things. So we are going to so for this post launch research, it's going to answer the question: did we succeed? So even after you've already answered that question, then you will still need to continue to you will continue to ask this question, because you still need to be knowing how your users are going on with your product. And then the research methods of user research. So I'm going to talk about there's actually primary research and secondary research, but the people that do conduct secondary research are not UI UX designers. That's why I didn't include it. So for primary research, it is the research you conduct yourself. You as a UI UX designer, you conduct the primary research yourself, and they can include interviewing users, surveying users, or you can conduct a usability study to hear from your users directly. So this interviewing, it can actually, although I'm still going to break it down more as we continue this class. So this interviewing of users, it's more like going on a one-on-one call, FaceTime with the users, in which you are going to ask them some questions and they will going to be answering you. While surveying is more like asking all your users a particular question. And this usability study is knowing how your the users actually work with your product. So under this primary research, there is something they call quantitative and qualitative research. Quantitative, it actually means something like numbers, of course, and then qualitative means like the research. So this quantitative research, it focuses on data that can be gathered by counting or measuring. Probably like this, you might have actually came across some apps that will say um that will be like, can you rate our app? So that is more like what quantitative research is for. But the more effective way of conducting user research or primary research is by using qualitative research. And although there are actually some forms of conducting user research that includes this both quantitative and qualitative research, but for this qualitative research, it focuses on observations on why and how things happen. You might ask the question, why are my users leaving and why are my users leaving this app? Why are they not going through this website? Or how things happen? Maybe there are actually some things that are making that your users are not pleased with. So in this case, you need to ask them some questions. This qualitative research also focuses on asking them some questions as well. So I mean your users some questions. So then um under this primary research, the ways in which you can actually do this is interviews. So we've talked about interviewing users. So these interviews, it's research method used to collect in-depth information on people's opinion, thoughts, experiences, and feelings. So what these people are actually, no doubt, your users. And then these your users, you, it's not like as if although you are the owner of the app, or you're actually helping someone to build an app, to build a product or so on, and then you should not just focus on what you like. Focus on what your users want, what you feel like your user needs. So you need also need to consider their opinions, what they think about what your product should be, or how they feel like how your product should work, because it is actually what they want. If you actually design or develop what they want, they will continue using that. And also you need to consider their thoughts, their experiences with your apps, and their feelings with your apps. So these feelings also, so this method of interview also regards showing empathy. If you can recall, I mentioned about how user interface designers and user experience designers can work using empathy. So this empathy, you need to like put yourself in your user's shoes. So while you put yourself in your user's shoes, you need to consider their feelings, their thoughts, what they actually think about that your product. Is your product actually annoying them? So you actually need to get some things about them. That's why you need to interview them. So when you interview them, it might actually include going on a one-on-one call with them. Then you ask them questions. So for example, I'm going to give you an example of some of the questions that you can ask. So from what I've explained, which one would you think would be best out of these one two questions? The first question, how would you rate your experience using the app on a scale of 1 to 10? And number two, how was your experience using this app? But take note, before answering this question, you need to know that while interviewing your customers, you want them to give detailed response. That detailed response, it should consist a lot of things that they will say. And while they are saying this, you can actually take like a note, probably a digital note or probably a physical note, that can jot down what they need. So interviewing them regards a detailed response. So how now this question now, how would you rate your experience using the app on it? You're actually interviewing someone, then you ask, how would you rate your experience using the app on a scale of 1 to 10? Or how was your experience using the app? So out of these two questions, which question do you feel which question do you feel is most effective, that will help them give you a detailed response? You can take your time. So if you actually picked the second question, you are very correct. Because if you are to say, how would you rate your experience using the app on a scale of 1 to 10? If they are to tell you 2 or 4 or 6, you won't really know how you can actually progress with that app. Times if they can tell you 1 to 4, it shows that they are not enjoying the app. But now if they can actually tell you their experience is going to give you a detailed response on how that app is or that product is. So when they actually give you a detailed response, you yourself will actually, you can even rate it by them. You can actually rate what they said by yourself. You know that this person is not really enjoying this app by what he told me. So when maybe the person tells you now that the app, whenever I'm trying to go through the app, I'm not the if I'm trying to make a payment through the app, it's not actually doing well, it's not doing this, it's not doing that. But if the person should just tell you two, you will not know how to go on from there. But giving this detailed response is the best. So now, surveys. Surveys is another way that you can actually conduct user research is using surveys. Surveys is an activity where many people are asked the same questions in order to understand what most people think about a product. And also it can include quantitative and qualitative questions. So these surveys, you want to gather what some people think about about a particular product, and in doing so, unlike interviews in which you can ask them series of questions that varies, the question might not even be the same, but that is for interviews. But for surveys, you will need to ask them the same questions. And then these surveys can actually be physical, or perhaps it can also be more like a form. For example, look at this um survey right here. Look at this survey right here. So these are the questions of the survey. The survey is just like a form. See, the person actually puts the email address, the name, the age range, the gender, the location. So if this was actually supposed to be a payment platform, so it asked what is your primary goal when using a digital payment or escrow platform. Me personally, I prefer using it to collect freelance payments. Mhm. So how important is the overall ease of use of the platform to you? Very important, not very important. Can scale it. This or like this is just like a quantitative research, a quantitative question. So what feature of digital payment platform do you value the most? Security, speed of transactions, so on and so forth. But then look at the responses. So look at so this is actually a Google form. I'm going to show you how you can actually create a form by yourself. I said a form, a survey by yourself. So this is the age range. So it's going to show you in charts, in bars. So this is a bar chart showing you the age range, the gender. You see, it was actually female. It was female. See the female, it stands for red, male stands for blue. So where are you located? So actually 90 people answered this surveys. So what is your primary goal when using a digital payment or escrow platform? So you can see here all these ones that are here, they are just like indications. Is after the survey have been conducted, they are just like indications showing that will help you to read the chart. So see, sending money stands for blue. You see that 52.6% actually prefer sending money. So in which of this, in which now the majority carries the vote. So sending money, people would actually prefer sending money. So then you actually focus the payment platform in which it's mainly based to send money. Then this green one, people might prefer using it to trade cryptocurrencies. So you might actually put this as something so that people would need, and then people also like using it for freelance payments as well. So when you are already know this, so you know the one that people will need most, and then that is the one that people will mostly see. How important is the overall ease of the platform to you. So remember, these were the questions that were used that to answer this chart that is right here. How important is the overall ease of the platform of overall ease of use of the platform to you? See some people's opinion. So who felt like it will be very important for that platform to be used and so on. And then which feature of a digital payment platform do you value the most? From what you can see here, you can see that um okay, there's blue, there's red, there's yellow, there's purple. You can see that user support and low fees are something that people feel like they don't really need. Or apart from low fees, user support is actually necessary. But you can see that people actually want this to be very good so that they might not even need the help of user support. Now you've seen that people value security and speed of transactions. So I will also show you how you can actually create a survey like this, in which you will use it to know how to build an app or probably a website or other products. So this usability study. So that survey, I'm going to teach you how to create it in another video. So this usability study, it's a technique to evaluate a product by testing it on users. It is to understand pain points that users experience in different prototypes, so the issues can be fixed before the final product development or final product launch. So the so when you test it on users, when you let users, this usability study is to let users to use this product. So when they use this product, they will not tell you how they actually feel about the product, although you give them different prototypes. So when you see that this person is actually enjoying this particular feature of this prototype, this person that prototype is just like a, can I say mock up, something that can I put it to, it's just like something that you use in place of the original product, but it is not like the product, like it's not like the product itself. It's just it's just like can I say fake version, something that you don't just want to bring out like that. It's just like a simple version of the other um product, so that people can just test it out and see how it is the there's a final product development for it. So this is what we are just going to learn for now. So I'm also going to show you a video in which you can create a form by yourself. So see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Good night.